moment. How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing!
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? The sweet emotion raining all over me.
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again. Making black new.
Good evening, friends. Happy Wednesday. I'm already seeing the comments roll in. Lola Days, hello. Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are looking forward to our podcast and getting us through the week. Hump Day, as it is known. Please like, share, and subscribe. Or I should have introduced myself, but if you're watching this, you probably already know who I am. Welcome to the weekly Audit the Vote podcast. I am your host, Tony Shoup. I have an amazing guest tonight who's just a regular person like me. Can't wait to share him with all of you. But before we do that, in order to help us get to the top of the algorithm and increase our reach so we can have a bigger impact in the culture, I need you to like and share this video and subscribe to whatever platform that you're on, whether you follow us on Facebook or YouTube or Rumble, Telegram, Instagram, TikTok. We're on everything. Make sure you are liking and sharing this video so we get it out. The more we get it out, we have a chance of monetizing a lot of our platforms, which will help bring in revenue for Audit the Vote specific activities. And then I don't have to ask you to donate as much if I can get these platforms monetized. But if you feel led to do so, feel free to go to our website, auditthevotepa.com/donations. We have so much work to do until the midterms to try to secure elections, get rid of the 3 Supreme Court judges that are activist judges so we can refile the Act 77 lawsuit and be completely done with these dreadful mail-in ballots and early voting for 50 days. We're not going to go down that path tonight, but take a breath. And we've got a power-packed information session. The first thing I want to talk about, I've got 3 things regarding Patriot Academy that I just want to bring to your attention. This is kind of out of the chute offering it's not a new course. Patriot Academy has had this communications course for a while now, but we are going to offer it now via Zoom, mostly geared at our Constitution coaches from Patriot Academy, but opened up to the public as well. Joel, if you could get the graphic up, it is called The Leader's Edge: The Power of Purposeful Communication. And we're going to start Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. It'll be about a 2-hour, maybe 2.5-hour course, and it is open to everybody. So if you would like to increase your communication skills and become better at articulating why it is you believe what you believe, which I think is so very important, in the world that we live in today is we've got to win the culture war first before we can expect to win any other type of war. And we do that by using our First Amendment right of free speech and speaking out. Rick teaches us that if you don't use those 5 freedoms in the First Amendment, you will lose them. And freedom of speech, we've got to get good. It's not just a matter, though, of being combative and speaking truth, although that is important. It's also understanding how to communicate your values and change hearts and minds as well. And so the Leader's Edge, it's going to be 3 Monday nights, the June 9th, June 16th, and the 23rd, all via Zoom from 8 to 10 p.m. And the QR code you can scan right there and join us this upcoming night. We may do it again. I'm not sure. This was kind of something that we've been talking about on the Patriot Academy staff with the coach community for a while, and we finally pulled the trigger. We will have Rick Green with us. I'm not sure exactly how many times. We'll also have the coach program director, Tristan Gazelle, with us for some Q&A when the video section is done. And I guarantee you it's going to be not only very helpful for your communication skills, but also a good time, because let's face it, if it's not fun, it's not really worth doing. That's kind of my life philosophy. So the Leader's Edge, power of purposeful communication. The second thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the new course from Patriot Academy called Rebuilding Liberty. And we've got a fresh promotional video for you that Joel is going to get queued up, but this is going to start. I have some good news, official news. I think I can say this without getting in trouble. We are going to kick off a national class on June the 30th for Rebuilding Liberty. The details are still being worked out. There's no link to sign up yet. I will, of course, be doing my own class on a different night of the week, but get ready, because it looks like June 30th, we are going to launch Rebuilding Liberty. And so, Joel, if you could cue up that video and get ready to play it. It's less than a minute, this promotional video. It's a new one. I'm excited for you guys to see it. So go ahead, Joel, play the video.
Not rebuild liberty from the national level. It's not going to happen from Washington, D.C. You have to rebuild from the ground up.
We've already got the roadmap that our founding fathers laid out for us of what they did when they were in this position. You live in the greatest country in the world. It's the greatest country in the world because the government was made by the people who live in it.
People have been bullied into silence for so long. We want to re-educate people. It's time for us to go on offense.
Psalm 121 tells us, unless the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain that build it. Now the Bible tells us, if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do?
Wherever you are, there's something you can do. You don't have to be the expert. You can do something in your community.
I get chills. I love it. To answer your question quickly, Barb, I'm not recording the Zoom, but the Leader's Edge course is available on Patriot U. So go to patriotacademy.tv. You should have access to it. I think there's a multitude of ways to access it, but I think you should have access to that. patriotacademy.tv, and the Leader's Edge course is on there, but I don't think we're going to be recording this session. I'm sure we'll do it again. No big deal. Don't feel bad if you have to miss it. But how cool is that new promo? I get chills just watching it. It was so cool to be there live and film it. And it looks like I'm not getting edited out. And so my guest tonight, Shane Chesher, I did give a shout out to in that course. So Shane, I'm hoping that doesn't get edited out as well, but he might get a shout out from the National Patriot Academy stage, which would be amazing. And I'm sure, just like me, it's incredibly humbling that we're here after 5 years ago. We were just normal, regular people, which we still are. Last thing before we talk about some state level issues, and then we're going to get our special guest, is the Patriot Academy Leadership Congress is in full swing and coming up this week. They are in Denver, Colorado. So if you are between the ages of 16 and 25, and Joel, if you could pull up the website, I just want to encourage you all to go look at this. This is the premier leadership event the Patriot Academy does all summer, once a year. And there is a chance for anybody to attend, regardless of your age. They have got tracks for each different sector of the demographics. If you're 16 to 25, the Leadership Congress event, there's 5 of them in different state capitals around the nation. Dover, Delaware is the closest one to us. That's going to be in the middle of July. Right now, they're in Colorado, in Denver. They're going to be headed to Florida at some point. The last one will be in Texas. I can't remember, Joel, which ones. Actually, scroll up a little bit and click on the Leadership Congress for the 16 to 25-year-olds, and that'll take you down to see where they all are. There we go. There they are. And I have to make my screen bigger so that I can see this. There's all your leadership congresses. And so check that out for 16 to 25-year-olds. And then there's 2 other ways that you can be a part of this. If you are a military veteran, there is a track specifically for you. And if you're not a military veteran and you're outside of the age bracket 16 to 25, all you have to do is sign up to be a Constitution coach, which is free, and you are eligible to attend. Rick did this for years and got pushed back and said, what about those of us that are older than 25? And they came up with now the coach program. So I was, quick plug, I was dragged to this event. I shouldn't say dragged. I wasn't dragged. I went to this event for the first time in August of 2023 as staff because I was hired and pretty much had to go, but I did not understand the value in it. And I went because I was an employee. I left thinking, we have to get every American citizen should experience this, because you get immersed in the process of writing a bill. The entire legislative process, it's a simulation. So you get to basically be a legislator for the day. You write a bill, you have to argue it in a committee, you learn how the committee process works. 5 years ago, I didn't even know what a committee was. In fact, Representative in the House, Russ Diamond, had to explain to Karen in January 2021, December 2020, what it meant to submit a petition to a committee. I remember him saying, you have to get to the right committee. And her and I were like, what the heck is a committee? I don't even know what it was. You get to go through that process and find out how the bill gets through committee and on the House floor, and then see the whole thing of how you argue a bill on the House floor. How do our laws actually get written? Majority of people that get elected to office, state and congressional federal level, have no clue how this process works. And we are aiming to fix that at Patriot Academy. So go ahead and check that out. Joel, you can get rid of that website. That's my promo for Leadership Congress. Couple of updates on the state level, and then we're going to get Shane Chesher up here. I did have a conversation. I wanted to update everybody. I know that there's this scuttlebutt with the mail ballots and the early voting. And it's probably the most polarizing issue right now between the conservatives, especially in Pennsylvania, is we're stuck with early voting and Act 77 and mail ballots. And there's people on one side of the aisle saying we have to utilize it. And there's others that are saying, no, we can't. And then there's people that are coming in the middle. And where we are landing is trying to explain to people, we're not saying don't chase mail ballots that are already going to go out to Republicans and independent voters. But what we are suggesting is not to partner with Early Vote Action and push mail ballots on newly registered, uninformed, low propensity voters, because the trends are showing that those people are not voting conservative and they're not voting Republican. And we are very concerned that that is a losing strategy. Thankfully, I was able to get on the phone this past week with the state chair of the GOP, Greg Rothman, and explain a little bit of this to him. And so I am going to be going to Harrisburg to meet with him, potentially to get Brandon Strzok and the walkaway movement involved with our state. I think that would be an ideal situation. If Republicans want to win in Pennsylvania, we have to outreach. We have to expand the Republican tent, the MAGA movement. We have to do outreach to the Hispanic community, the Black community, the LGBT community. And Brandon is in a perfect position to do that and is more than willing to help us. So I'm really aiming and hoping that I can get our state chair to work alongside with Walkaway and do some events and try to get the Republican Party in a MAGA position that is not vulnerable to fraud. So I'm looking forward to that. Joel, pull up the graphic for the judge of elections. I have a cool graphic I want to show you guys. Big thing on the ballot in November is our judge of election races. You are the head honcho of the voting precinct, the polling locations when you are a judge of elections, and you are the stop for election integrity. If something were to go wrong on the ground and you are in charge, you can stop any crazy shenanigans from happening. A lot of times in the big blue areas, these positions end up being appointed by the county that is mostly Democrats because nobody runs for these seats. I didn't know what they were. Again, 5 years ago, someone reached out to me and said, you're going to be a judge of elections, right? If you're pushing for election integrity. And I thought, I don't have a law degree and I don't want to wear a black robe. So I don't think that that's going to be a fit for me. I didn't understand that that meant it's just the person that runs the election at the polling location on election day. And it's a paid position. We have had people from 20 plus counties run write-in campaigns and get on the ballot this last primary for judge of elections. So I think we are making some strides in the right direction, but there's still an awful lot of precincts that are not yet filled up. And so I'm going to put a link to a website that you can sign up if you want to pledge to run for one of them. There's a drop-down menu for your precinct. You can choose, and we'll let you know if there's somebody already on the ballot or not if you decide to run for your specific area. But thank you to those who took the pledge and ran in the May 2020 primary. We are going to be pushing this up until November 5th. We've got 5 months to get as many of the vulnerable areas filled with good, honest patriots so that we can have at least clean elections on election day, or people in charge that we know are honest and are going to stop crazy shenanigans from happening, like we saw in Allegheny County, where a judge of elections left the polling location. This was back in 2021, by the way, and came back with ballots. And she was also letting people come in and vote and not sign the poll book. So that's a little bit dangerous. And so we are looking forward to filling those and getting those positions in tip-top shape by November. Oh, let me scroll down. We might be ready to bring in our special guest. In fact, I think we are. We're going to talk about some upcoming events right before we bring him in. So next week, I will be at the South Fayette Republican Committee meeting in Allegheny County on Wednesday night. And then I'll be boogieing my butt back up here to get on the podcast next week. And I will be at Patriot Valley Ranch in Erie on Thursday night for our last class of Foundations of Freedom. It's our 6th week for the recent class that I've been running, and I was invited by some amazing coaches to go up there and meet people live. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Erie next week on Thursday night at Patriot Valley Ranch. And before we announce the event that I know Mr. Chesher is going to be involved in, bring the main man on screen, if you would, for me, Joel. Help me welcome Shane Chesher. I don't even know, like, he doesn't really have a title. Like, what's your title? You're just an advocate. You're a lover of Jesus. You are a patriot, Constitution coach, hardcore, just what men need to do and what men need to be. Shane is a walking example of that. So thank you for taking the time out tonight. We've been trying to schedule this, I know, for weeks, maybe even months. So glad we finally got our schedules aligned. Shane, welcome. Thank you for taking the time with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited, super excited to be here. So this is definitely way overdue, but all works in God's timing, right? So.
Amen. So what happens when a regular citizen refuses to comply with tyranny and takes the system head on? This is who you're talking to right now. Shane is from Allegheny County. I'll give you a little bit of his background from my perspective, because I would not know Shane if it was not for 2020 and the COVID shutdowns. Shane and his wife Dana took Karen and I's Constitution class, which at the time was Constitution Alive. I think it was winter, spring-ish of 2021. And they were almost exactly like us, hadn't been politically active, woke up when 2020 happened. I think Dana, Shane, maybe talk a little bit. Dana was fighting the mask mandate in the school, and she actually lost her job first because she decided to stand up to the mask mandates. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Dana was working for the school district the whole time, and she wasn't wearing the mask. And then actually, coincidentally, she actually, while we were learning for our rights in your class, she met somebody in in the class that would help her get a medical mask exemption. Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. And so the school district made her get 2 of those, and they would not uphold her medical exemption. They were like, no, see you later. And yeah, it was crazy. So it actually prepared our fight and started to want us to get to know our rights. And she did want unemployment. I feel like she.
What month did she get fired in? Do you remember what month she lost her job?
It was April 2021. So
April 2021. Okay.
A few months before me. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was crazy because the school year was almost done. When they went back to school, masks, I don't think were back on. So, or they might have been on it. I don't know. 2021 was such a blur, but
total blur.
But yeah, so it was just a shame. They did offer to get the vaccine at some point, and she said no. So she definitely gave me the courage and confidence for my fight, and her being prepared. Her in that fight was preparing me for my fight, and God was preparing me, and I didn't even know it. So it was really crazy how that all worked out. And that's why I started taking the Constitution class, and that's how I met you. So.
Yes. And so you signed up to be a coach, and you were doing, I remember Facebook. I'm starting to see you again, do more Facebook lives. You started hosting your own classes. I think I even popped in on a couple of them. What made you decide, Shane, to do the same thing? Essentially, why'd you pull the trigger on that?
So I love like when you experience good food, I love to talk about that. When you experience something good that just changes your life, you just like Jesus Christ, you want to share that. So I feel like that's just natural for me. And when I experienced the truth of constitutional law, the truth that biblical citizenship class, I was like, man, I need to get this out to the masses. And it really did, like, to know your rights and to learn how much deception there is and how ignorant we are to, how beautiful this country was actually founded, and all the great history, and not all the all the lies that are put upon us. It's actually really, really amazing. So I wanted to help spread that truth. And Patriot Academy gives you a wonderful avenue to do that for free and no obligation either to do that. So I thought it was really awesome. And and you were a good coach, so you were a good role model. So it really helped too.
Well, I think the real power in that curriculum is the fact that you don't have to know anything yourself yet, because it's all in a video series. You just have to be willing to host people, whether it's in your home or it's online, and just be willing to gather people and have some discussion afterwards. Like, I still get people in my classes that'll ask a question that I don't know. I'm not worried about having the right answer. I'm trying to foster community and build, that local interaction, which is, again, to your point, how you found someone to write a exemption letter for Dana for her mask. So
yeah, you make so many connections in there. So many connections.
We built the whole Audit the Vote movement was built while we were hosting Constitution classes. And Shane, I know you were a huge part of that and can be a testament. In fact, little factoid that my audience probably doesn't know. When we crossed over 100,000 signatures, I think our final number was like around 120,000. It was in June, and it was you and Dana that were getting, I think you were at a Trump rally in Ohio. You were getting signatures in person. And I think one of you made a phone call or a text to Jamie, and that's how we went over 100,000. Was that? I will never forget that, because we were so excited. That was you guys.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember being in Ohio. I think Dr. Doug Frank was actually at that rally. And he was making math great again. So it was.
And I'm just have bugs in my shed because my husband didn't put the air conditioner in and it's roasting. So I have to have the door open. So I'm not hallucinating. I'm just swatting away the bugs. Did I ever tell you that? I might not have even told you that,
no,
Shane.
I don't think you did. That's actually a pretty awesome story.
Yep. You guys were the one. I'm not saying it was your segment. I don't know the exact moment. I just know that is when I remember being reassured. No, it's done. You can call Doug Mastriano. At the time, he was our advocate, because he had thrown out that whole, if you get to 100,000 signatures, I'll connect you with President Trump. And so when I got that call that you guys were at the rally and they're getting it's definitely over 100,000. That's what did it. So thank you very much for your service there. Now, I want to talk a little bit too about, you're not just active with Constitution classes. Fast forward, Allegheny County, 11 years. This is the most gut-wrenching story, and I think it's so amazing to see people like you fight back, whether you win or lose, although it makes it even cooler that you just won, which we'll talk more about. So you're a Constitution coach and you're hosting classes in September, I think, of 2021 is after working for Allegheny County for 11 years. And so people need to when you work for the government for that amount of time, you build up a lot of perks. I believe you get potential pensions, and the health insurance it's not an easy thing to just be like, whatever. And you still stood your ground when they tried to force you to get the COVID jab to keep your job, while a lot of other people caved and got it. And you stood up and said no, and they fired you in September. Do I have that right?
Absolutely. Well, December. September is when the mandate came in. We got fired 3 weeks before Christmas, actually.
Okay. So tell that whole story, because I think in the meantime you had run for school board and lost in that mix as well. So you were like super active. Is that right?
Yes, actually. Yeah, I did my first write-in campaign because there was a lot going on with school boards and I think it's called ESSER or whatever it be. It was like putting in financial mandates basically for COVID mandates. They were getting a bunch of money for putting in COVID mandates. So we were trying to stop those things. But yeah, I was doing that. I was coaching classes, which actually was really helpful because I had a support system there. There's other people experiencing, like, you weren't just, when you do it on Zoom, you get random people in there from across the country. So that was actually really, really cool. And I think God was just keeping me busy to keep my mind kind of going, just keep me going. And I also felt that God prepared me for that, because if I didn't have the knowledge and the confidence to know that my rights were being infringed, I wouldn't have been able to stand up to them. And then Dana, obviously, all her fight gave me the confidence as well. But September, so I worked for them for 11 years. We were deemed essential through the COVID pandemic. We worked the whole time. I was working outside. Life didn't really change for me as a county employee during the pandemic too much. And then they allowed us to do religious exemptions. They denied everyone's religious exemption on the premises of undue hardship. And we worked the whole time. So I didn't know how all of a sudden my religious beliefs were going to cause them hardship, and how I was going to potentially cause them hardship. They took away our COVID leave, but in retrospect, that actually showed that they had to pay people that were vaccinated and still getting COVID. So you could tell that the vaccinated were still getting COVID, because who was getting paid COVID leave and who was not getting paid COVID leave. So their whole argument didn't make any sense. And then in December 1st, 2021, we were fired, I think there was 90 people altogether. Now, originally there was 1,000 under the mandate. I think there's like a total of 6,000 employees. I think about half of those people end up retiring or, just quitting or whatever it be. And then,
people knew, they were like, this is not good. There were people that found another way out, basically.
Some people, yeah. And then some people, I just talked to a guy the other day when I was, when I was on primary election day. A guy that worked for the county was doing his, stops, and he was like, "Hey, are you Shane that stood up to the COVID mandate?" He's like, "I had to bow down," and he "I wish I had the courage you did." And, it was just terrible that he had to be put in that corner, because he worked for the county for so long, and nobody should have been put in that corner. So it did work for some people, and sadly, I don't begrudge anybody that had to give into that, but God provided for me through that, and God continues to provide for me through all of this, and it's been pretty amazing, because I actually for once had to stand on my faith, and that's the blossoming of my God story, I believe, where God started working through me.
That is so cool. He's breaking out a little bit. Is he breaking out for you guys too? I don't know if it's me or him. Not that it matters, because we're going to keep going no matter what. I don't know if there's any way to fix that.
I'll try to. I don't know if it's the sound or the connection.
I don't know either. But people are still watching. So December. Okay. So September, they put the mandate. December, 3 weeks before Christmas, you get fired. Was your write-in campaign, was that November then? Is that when you ran for the school board?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I point that out is because he lost. And I just want the audience to understand, I teach my kids this all the time. Winning is not a circumstantial thing. Winning is a mindset. And you're going to lose. The people that ultimately really lose, are the ones that just give up and they stop trying. But it's not fun when you're in the middle of it. And my oldest daughter just had to experience this past dance season. She does competitive dance, and she did a solo for the first time. In the first solo competition, she didn't place. And I saw the hurt on her, when we left there. It was not pretty. It doesn't feel fun, but it's what makes you at the end of the day. If you're going to stand back up, if you lose, if you just don't get back up after you get knocked down. So that's what I like about that, Shane. Not you're getting beat from every angle. You're having to lose your job. You lost the school board race. It would have been really easy to be like, oh, forget it. Right. Because then we're into early 2022. I can't remember if you were still hosting classes or anything, but so take us through the journey of losing your job. What happened after that? How did you survive?
Well, really cool. Something happened, and right before I was getting fired, actually working with you and picking up Dr. Doug Frank, he was able to help me work for My Pillow for a short amount of time that helped bridge that financial gap. Blessings and to Dr. Doug Frank, blessings to Mike Lindell. That was really awesome. And then I was working for construction for a year. Never really did that on the outside as a laborer or anything like that. And so that was different for me, and that was a learning experience. And then I was in a union as a laborer, so I let the union fight their fight as you should, and as I was legally told. And I was doing classes with actually in coordination with Audit the Vote as well. And then
that's right, I remember that. So we were all over the place, and we needed a break. So we're like, Shane, you do the classes here.
Yeah. And so then going through all that, basically I think it was September, I had lost my arbitration, and I had already been starting to get educated on how to file a lawsuit. Tony Pellegrino really set the groundwork for us. I had been somewhat of a leader with all this because I went on KDKA, and that story went somewhat viral the night before I got fired. So we made a group through that, and we started talking, and we also made a group through like the protests and things like that. So
for a second, Joe, I hate to throw monkey wrenches at you. I should have had that clip. If you can find that clip, I would love to play it. Don't stress if you can't. Shane, keep telling the story. So 2022, you started fighting back. You started learning like, okay, I'm not just laying down. We're going to fight back.
Yeah. So, so I feel like we won the day we stood up and the day we said no, but we wanted to go back on offense and try to hold them accountable. And that's all it was for me. People have different motives on that. For me, it was just to hold them ultimately accountable for what they did to us and make sure that they realized that they were wrong. So it was originally like 12. Well, there was like 20 people. There were some jail guards in there. It was all different walks of life from Allegheny County. It was a really cool group. We were meeting weekly on Zoom. We were talking, praying before each meeting, praying at the end of the meeting, really starting to get to know each other. Fast forward to December of 2022. A year later, we were filing the lawsuit. So we were doing affidavits. We were learning how the legal system works, what you have to do to file a lawsuit, how much it costs to file a federal lawsuit. And I was, I felt like I was being prepared again, and I'm not stupid. I'm not like brilliant either. So I felt like God at least gave me the knowledge and the confidence to do what I had to do. And with Tony's help, we were able to file our own lawsuit. We filed in December of 2022. We amended it in January of 2023, where we were able to add 2 more people on. That was a godsend too, because one of the guys that we added on was Jason Thornton, who now I work with at my job now. So that was pretty crazy. And I can continue on, but I'll let you get a breath in there of how it continued.
So 2022, you're fighting back. September or December of 2022, you filed the lawsuit. You had how many people did you get on the lawsuit with you? How many people joined that?
Originally, it was me and 12 others, and then we added 2 more in January, so it ended up being a total of 15 people.
15 people from Allegheny County. We're like,
there's other lawsuits too. Yeah.
There's another one?
There's one with a couple different guards. Yeah, there's a couple single lawsuits. There's other people that just filed their own lawsuits. But yeah, the pro se, there was 15 of us. Yeah, so it was pretty
awesome. Cool. You did it on your own. And the most important part is we have to show the government. The government will stand down when the people stand up. And I'm just so proud of you and so excited that you did that. You just showed people, no, it's not. I love what you said. Accountability, 100%. It's why I'm still in the election integrity battle. I hope people realize this. As awesome as it is that President Trump is back in the White House dealing with his own garbage, I'm sure nobody was held accountable for stealing a presidential election in 2020. They stole a freaking election and nobody was held accountable. And I am not going to sleep at night until we change that. And who knows? Maybe eventually I'll be 6 feet under before we ever see the fruits of our labor, but that's accountability is key. I cannot stand when people are not held accountable.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure duty is ours, results are God's.
Duty is ours, exactly. John Quincy Adams, essentially the pioneer to abolishing slavery, mentored in Abraham Lincoln, and he died. We learned this, of course, through our Patriot Academy classes And if you're not involved at all with us, you need to take one. Go to patriotacademy.com, pencil in June 30th on your calendar to start with our Rebuilding Liberty class. But Rick Green does a fabulous job telling the story of how Abraham Lincoln, who abolished slavery, was mentored by a young when he was young, was mentored by John Quincy Adams, who fought to abolish slavery and died without seeing the fruits of his labor. But years later, his young protege becomes president and ends up seeing it through. So duty is ours. That's where we get it from. Results are God's. And that's what keeps us going on a daily basis. I know that's what keeps you going too. Joel, any chance you were able to grab that video? I should be checking the private chat. If not, no big deal. It's just Shane is I think you had a Steeler hat on. I remember seeing that. You did a great podcast a few months back that we came to where you walked through this entire thing. I should have asked you for some videos for that. I'm sorry. Not handy. No big deal whatsoever. Just, are you Googleable? If you Google Shane Chesher, something else you'll probably find out is that he was at the Butler Rally in the summer, January 13th, 2024, right behind the president in the pictures, along with Joel, along with many others. Is he pulling up pictures of, there you are in the crowd. Right behind President Trump. Yeah. I don't want to get off on a rabbit trail. Maybe we'll come back to the lawsuit because I don't know the timing of that. Is it okay if we pivot to the Butler Rally and talk a little bit about that?
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, holy cow, tell us about that? Like, because a lot of people, here's what I want to address. They're saying there was more than one shooter. Again, no accountability, no answers, which irritates me to no end. Tell us about your experience that day.
Wow. So yeah, and accountability, it's far and few between. I don't know if we really ever see it, so it's a shame. So, but July 13th, been to a lot of rallies, been behind President Trump before. So I treated it like any other rally, except it was super hot that day, like so hot that day. But I was super excited to be behind him that day. I thought it was gonna. So looking back to the Butler Rally in October 2020, wasn't able to be there, but it was like 60,000 people. So I thought this one was going to be super big. It was big, but it wasn't 60,000 people big. But anyways, so maybe because it was so hot, it was Saturday in July. So we got right behind, and Trump wasn't on there too long. It was like 6 minutes, and all of a sudden, we hear pops, and for me, it was right after July 4th. I thought it was some kind of prank or some kind of something to distract or some kind of thing to ruin the rally, where they were throwing fireworks or something like that. I'm not really trained in gunfire or anything like that, so my reaction, if you watch it, is definitely strange a little bit because I'm like looking to see what's going on. Yeah. And so then I seen Trump go down, and I did watch him go down on his own account. So I did kind of think he was okay, but I still was really I thought he was just getting down to get down. And because nobody really truly understood, except for some people knew what was going on. Yeah, I could get off on a bunch of crazy stories of if there was multiple shooters. I really don't know. But I do know that there was people harmed that day. There was a Corey comparator was killed that day. And for whatever reason, for us, Dana was right beside me. She was covering some people that came with us, a couple of neighbor children. They were scared to death. So she had a totally different experience than me. I was checking out what was going on. And then Donald Trump got up. I mean, the insane reaction of when he put his fist up was, it was just, you cannot replicate that feeling. But there was a supernatural calmness for whatever reason. I'm not the only one that experienced that. Other people have experienced that. And, but there was this crazy sensation to pray. And Dana felt that. She was like, oh, we need to pray. I felt that. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. So I started praying. And I was going to start saying some random words, but God was like, nope, Lord's Prayer. And started saying the Lord's Prayer out loud, and the whole section joined in behind us. And it was a really, really cool moment. Just something I'll never forget. And when you're saying the words delivered from evil, and you were just delivered from evil, it definitely sounds a lot different and feels a lot different when you're saying it. And there was a guy in front of me that I knew that messaged me the next day. We don't normally talk, but he was like, hey, I haven't said the Lord's Prayer in years, but I'm going to say it every day now. And because I got to come home and hug his kids. So it's you just never know what God's doing in such crazy moments. But God did move there. I don't know. It's actually crazy to be a part of history, for that week after, just to watch the TV and constantly just like see me or see Dana behind it and see other people we knew behind it. It was just, there was TikTok videos of me that I was some, central casting agent. It's it's pretty, I don't know. It's
crisis actor. He's a crisis actor. Or not. Like, it's important to question. I think it's very important to question everything all the time. I think it's also important to keep a level head and to not jump to conclusions without sufficient evidence. And so I don't think, based on all the eyewitness accounts, including Joel, including you, Barb Harris, Anthony Ellis. I mean, I knew more people in that background crowd when Joel showed that picture than not know who they were, because it was our hometown. And nobody thinks that I did not hear one person who is physically there who says, oh yeah, I think there was definitely a second shooter. So that stuff that's floating around, anything is possible, but the eyewitnesses on the ground is what I go back to. And that's why I wanted to ask you, do you think, again, yes, I would have been in your boat, Shane, not like, are those fireworks? I thought that we were watching it on our phone in Newcastle that day, and that's what I thought, like, fireworks? Wait, what? And then we saw him go down, just like you described, and you realize, oh my gosh, somebody's shooting at him. What the heck is going on? So
yeah,
I don't know how you would even discern that there was a second shooter, but it sounds like you didn't see anything that led you to believe that that was the case.
I truly don't know, but I don't think, in the way it all sequenced out, even talking and listening to the Butler sniper team that actually had hit his gun, their accounts don't match up to that. I can't say that I know for sure.
Right.
And I do remember one thing really clearly, when it really sank into me, is when I looked forward and I seen Rico Elmore covered in blood. I was just like, wow, this something crazy happened. And that's when reality sunk in for me. But yeah, it was crazy to see people, and when you're in the movement like this, so many people. It's actually like another family, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's a day I'll never forget for sure, but the world won't forget either. So
I think there was a shift to that day in terms of the campaign, in terms of just the whole election cycle. I don't know that Trump would have, not that I'm glad that happened by any means. I mean, Corey, now there's a wife and daughter who don't have their dad the rest of their life, and nothing is more unfair than that. But I honestly don't know that he would have been able to pull off the big win that he did without that, because I think that there was just feels like a shift. Do you feel that way too?
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. A huge shift. I mean, I don't think Biden had bailed out until after that. Yeah,
oddly enough, right after that, the RNC, what was that, a Saturday? I think RNC convention started Monday.
Yeah.
And of course they had to take over. We couldn't let the Trump assassination attempt dominate the news cycle. In fact, I think didn't CNN try to say he slipped and fell or something?
Oh, they're shrapnel hit his ear. I mean, there's so much. I mean,
they tried to cover it, and not, heaven forbid we, make him out to be anywhere near heroic, that he survived this and stood up and said fight. And then of course, I think Kamala, I don't know if it was Monday, whatever, that week or a week later, it was very close to that time frame that Biden bowed out and Kamala came in. Of course, I think it's just because they had to try to take the news cycle. They couldn't let him dominate the news cycle in that, because they knew that the campaign was over. And I think it worked anyway. I mean, that helped, but sorry, getting off track. January 13th, or July 13th. So where was the lawsuit? Where were you in all of that? So we filed it in December 2022, 2023 starts. Of course, I don't know how you felt after we lost the midterms. I was like despondent, devastated, like thinking, I never thought Shapiro would get elected. I certainly didn't think that, I jokingly call him Mr. Potato Head Fetterman. Like, we just elected a stroke victim who couldn't string two coherent sentences together over a famous heart surgeon. What? So I was pretty low in early 2023 thinking, I really don't know where we're going from here. Where were you at in this whole process?
I'm glad you asked that question because like that's actually pretty crazy. I remembered where I was at in this process because the week later, at this point now, and I'll catch us up to that, but I'll just say a week later, I was at vacation. Couldn't have been better timing, God's timing. And the FBI was calling Dana and I to get our account of what happened that day. And then there were some things going on with my lawsuit, which I'll get into, but let me get into how I end up being on my own. So the legal process sucks. It's not for the faint of heart. It's a really slow process when they want it to be a slow process. And I learned many, many things. And I had gained, God gave us another ally through this process. Karen White, she worked for Pacific Justice Institute, and she was a lawyer. She actually used to live in Pittsburgh, PA, but she was living in New Jersey. So from the words slip in my mind, but from logistics, basically, she could not represent us. So she was helping us, and we've had formed a relationship. And in 2023, by September 2023, the county filed a motion to sever, and that motion was granted, basically saying that all of our cases were so much different that they had to separate all of our cases, and everybody had to file new lawsuits. So at that point in time, it was we all had a choice. Now, since my name was first on the lawsuit, and since I was the one that physically went down there and filed it, my case, the judge ruled, I didn't make this ruling up, got to continue on from that point, but I had to re-amend my lawsuit, and Karen helped me do that. There was power in the individuality of it. I wasn't happy with the decision because I think there's power in numbers, but that individual aspect, there is, even though we were all fired for the same reason, there was differences to our cases. So, so we got severed in 2023. The rest of the group had elected to, which was really hard for them, but to go with a lawyer that finally came out of the woodwork. His name's Jim Welsh. He was doing other cases. He does a case against Port Authority for the lawsuit for the mandates. He's a patriot. He's actually on a grand jury for the July 13th case. But he helped get these the rest of the people filed a lawsuit. We had raised money throughout, some money throughout, so we had enough money for them each to file. He's only charging them like 25%. So that was a blessing to them. So we had so many blessings along the way. And in July of 2024, while I'm on vacation, so I was trying to get the fee waived for mediation. Basically, the county will charge you, not the county, the judge, the court case will charge you. It's $2,000 from each party, or $2,500 from each party to pay a mediator. So I was trying, since I was pro se, I represented myself, I was trying to get financial relief from that. Well, the judge denied my financial relief and wanted me to prove that I was not financially capable of paying $2,500. So actually, I had to prove that while I was on vacation. I think I did prove that pretty legitimately. Well, later on, the judge denied me again after we had refiled and said, nope, sorry, you got to pay $2,500 for mediation. So that's where I was at in July 2024 at that point in time. Yeah.
I mean, so again, the message is winning isn't just all sunshine and rainbows. Winning is you don't give up when it gets hard. Look how many times you got punched down. And the court process, don't even get me started. It's one of the reasons why Audit the Vote doesn't fight heavily in the courts. And we're thankful that people like Leah Hoops and Greg Stenstrom do, because it's costly, it's long, it's not where my battle is. It's not where my strong suit is, but somebody's got to fight that battle. And I'm glad you did. But to your point, it's exhausting. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time, sometimes a lot of money. And I hate it.
It is a lot of money, even if you're pro se. And we went pro se because of financial reasons. Like it would cost a lot of money to pay for a lawyer. And you kind of figure out why from some aspects, because it's not free for them to do these filings and all the work and hours that they have to put in. Now, I do think they charge a lot of money, but not every lawyer charges a lot of money. And there was so much tyranny in the country that all these like cool like organizations like Liberty and they couldn't. They were just overwhelmed, and for whatever reason, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there's not that much representation for stuff like this. So I think it worked out the way it was supposed to. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So that decision, though, from the judge to not allow me to have financial relief for mediation was a big influencer later for me in the case. So.
Wow. Okay. So we don't want to get into that. Before we do, I found the video of Shane on KDKA in December of 2021 being interviewed before he lost his job, and Joel has it queued up. So Joel, if you could, let's go ahead and play that video.
Time is running out for Allegheny County workers to get vaccinated. Many county employees will need to show proof they received a shot when they show up to work in the morning. Those who refuse to get vaccinated could be fired. The majority of county workers are fully vaccinated, but there are some holdouts. Jennifer Barresso spoke with one guy who says he's prepared to be fired in the morning. Jennifer.
That's exactly right, Ken. Well, this county employee has a family. He tells me that he loves his job. He did not want it to come to this, but he says this is a fight about choice.
I'm passionate, obviously. I just feel it so deep in my soul that what I'm fighting for is a righteous fight.
For 11 years, Shane Chesher has worked for Allegheny County in public works, traffic, and most recently at the Parks Department at Harrison Hills Park in Natrona Heights. But tomorrow, he's prepared to be fired for defying the county's COVID-19 vaccination requirement.
I was just informed today that the termination is probably more than likely. The reality is kicking in, but I'm ready.
The 34-year-old husband and father of two explained why he won't get the vaccine.
Number one reason I'm doing this is for medical freedom, for you to have the right to choose and me to have the right to choose. No employer, no Rich Fitzgerald, no dictator should be telling me what to do with my body.
So what would you say is your biggest medical fear of taking the vaccine?
Nobody knows the long-term effects.
Chesher filed for a religious exemption, but the county denied his request.
I had two informative meetings. They denied, I was denied on October 29th.
He showed us the letter which cited, quote, an undue hardship, and it would impair workplace safety, impair the safety of members of the public, among other factors. Tomorrow, he will learn his fate when he meets with Human Resources and his parks director. And how much has this meant to you to stand up for yourself?
I mean, it means the world. It means more than a job, for sure. It means everything to me.
It's been a long, hard road.
I love my park, so I didn't want this at all.
And Ken Chesher says he will fight and keep fighting at a hearing tomorrow. He says he will give his side of the story. The union rep will be there with him. He says he's optimistic he will find another job because he's a hard worker. Reporting live, Jennifer Barrasso, KDKA News.
Jen, thanks.
Wow. Holy cow. Holy cow, Shane.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to watch that. And you know, surprisingly, I received like a lot of love from that and a lot of like cool things, but I received hate from that as well. Which, like, you know, when you're standing for something, you're gonna have opposition. So, you know, you're standing for something. So I'm okay with that. It's just so surprising because I didn't think I came off like, you know, like I thought, you know, when you're standing for freedom, you're standing for everyone. So even if they don't agree with you, but
amen.
Yeah, you know, it was bigger than a job. I was putting my faith in God and not in a paycheck, and pay dividends for me in the long run. But things that you can't measure by money, though. Things that you can measure by only things that God can give you.
Amen. So. Amen. But I do believe that God wants us blessed and wants us to walk in favor. And so you did get a win. We talked backstage, you know, I know as both Bible believing Christians that it's the Bible says that God's timing is perfect. My human flesh disagrees on a very regular basis, but that's where faith comes in and we just have trust. And so, but we did actually get to see a win. So when did you talk about that? The decision you ended up winning the lawsuit. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's nothing I expected to happen. It actually was really strange because in December of 2024, it was 3 years after being fired and 2 years after filing the lawsuit, we were doing that podcast to recamp the 3 years, and when I was telling that story that day, it was like a story that was unfinished. And then literally like a week after Christmas, 90% of court cases are settled outside of court. And, I found myself in a situation where the lady that was helping me, Karen White, was telling me that this was something I needed to explore with the county, and it was something that had to happen. My next bout would have been to go to mediation, which is essentially the same thing, except you're working out settlement agreements, but without with a mediator, and something that I had to pay for, $2,500 that I did not have. And then on the side, there was many things that God was showing me, other than just that, that it was time for that chapter of my life to end, and that there's power, that God represented me through it, and God did glorious things for me through it, and I was in a good place, and that God wanted to give me finality and end that chapter of my life. So there's power in too, that I can come on here and say, hey, like, I stood up to the bully, and the bully, was held accountable. I mean, maybe not to the level of accountability that they probably should have been, but regardless, they were held accountable. And it was never about money for me. It was always about just holding them accountable. So I didn't get like life-changing money, but I did get life-changing peace. And there was a peace I didn't know I needed until I realized until afterwards. And that just like washed off me, and God that was like my last confirmation. Well, I've actually got confirmations after that, but even this right here, it's a confirmation. But God did confirm to me that, that I was wearing something that I didn't realize I was wearing. And that's really hard to carry. And there's, to let go of that and move forward, it's really powerful. And it's, God has blessed me in such a miraculous way. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Joel's throwing up, please, the like, share, subscribe. He threw up there. Please share this. I don't know how you get any more of an encouraging story than this. He's just a walking example of what we have to pass to the next generation, that to stay free, freedom has a price, and we have to fight for it. It's not passed down through the bloodlines, but has to be fought for. And you're just a walking example of it. I could parade you like all over the place for not just Patriot Academy, but so many things for our nation. So thank you, Shane. It's been so glad that the Lord connected our paths. Joel has been sharing a lot of his social media links, Shane's social media links. I know he works now for a church that's not far from where I live. We're both in the Pittsburgh area. So he was honored and blessed to get a new job. Like you said, he didn't get millions of dollars. It's not completely life-changing money, but I love how you said that. It was life-changing peace, because you stood up to the bully and won. And that's an incredible feat in and of itself. So talk about what's next. I know you're running. So he ran for school board again, just this past primary, and you won this time. So you're going to be on the ballot in November. How does that feel?
Feels awesome. And, on my sign, it says glory be to God, because I don't want to win without God. So I only want to win with God. So some people are like, oh, you shouldn't put that on there. But some people don't realize the fallacy of the separation of church and state. And luckily I do know that the separation of church and state is a fallacy. So, it's been amazing to, press forward and win that primary. I just feel like if I'm supposed to win in November, God will work that out for me. I think it's something local action has national impact. And I think it's something we're called to do. I feel God showed me to do that again. I wasn't sure about it, but God has a funny way of showing you things through different ways if you're paying attention. And so it's been pretty cool to run for school board and do all those things. So it's I hope I get to win in November and represent our school.
That's awesome. Because again, another walking example of someone. If you haven't yet met the Lego Man, have you met the Lego Man, Robert Morse? That was teaching at Shayla?
I haven't got to meet him, actually.
Okay.
Personally.
I mean, we have to get the more. Part of me believes that 2020 was honestly about us all finding each other and getting as many like-minded people connected, because that appears to be what happened. Like, none of us talked each other into. We're not in some crazy MAGA cult where you can't question anything President Trump does, or just some of the lunatic stuff that we get accused of. It was just we all found each other. And Robert is someone that I would love to get you connected, because you guys are so like-minded and on the same page, and maybe even around the same age, and just making a huge impact. And we got to go on tour in Pennsylvania and get other people to stand up the same way you did. And Robert was a teacher at Chesher. I had him on the podcast. We got to get him back on here. He's got a bright future, I think, ahead of him, but he's fighting to get his education license back that was taken from him as a result of being arrested and wrongfully convicted with January 6th. They pinned everything on him and said because he had a Lego set of the U.S. Capitol that he was the mastermind behind the insurrection. Like,
Yeah.
Army Ranger, not a mark on his record. Basically, totally good kid teaching real history at Chesher Area High School, which is basically our backyard. And in June of 2021, he gets arrested as soon as school ends and spends essentially the rest of the time in prison until President Trump was able to pardon him on January 20th, getting inaugurated. It's crazy.
Was he in Allegheny County jail the whole time?
No, he was not. He spent time in Allegheny County jail, but he was not there the whole time. He got shifted around, ended up in the DC gulag. I mean, horrific conditions. And yet when I met him at CPAC, Joel, we met him together. He said that he is a better man because of this. We looked at each other like, I don't know that prison would make me a better person. Like, that is, for him to come out with that type of outlook, there's no other explanation, in my opinion, other than the grace of God. Like,
Right.
you don't get put through that and come out saying I'm a better person without God's hand on you, for sure.
1,000%.
Right? I'm a better man for it. I was like, you're what? You're special. We all have our own, I'm looking at the comments, we all have our own cross to bear. I heard this a long time ago in the world that I used to be in, which was business entrepreneur network marketing. Somebody had asked an Amish person at the time how he was able to have success with internet marketing business. And he said, every mule thinks his load is the heaviest. And that really spoke to me at the time. Like, everybody has a different path and a different cross to bear. And it's almost not fair to compare them to one another because no one else walks in your shoes. But just building this community that has come together as part of the MAG movement, Patriot Academy, medical freedom, audit the vote, all the different things that we've done together just show that that's where the power is, in us just coming together and supporting one another and moving forward on a daily basis. So I feel like I'm preaching to the choir and beating a dead horse. Please share this episode. Shane's story is incredibly encouraging. What else? As we wind things down, I know an event, Joel, if you want to throw up the graphic, this coming weekend, General Flynn is bringing his America's Futures team to Christchurch at Grove Farm, which is where Shane works and not far from our backyard. And they're doing an event to combat human trafficking, sex trafficking, called Get in the Fight. It is free to attend. I have a Facebook link. I'm going to try to put everything. I got to come up with some type of show notes for after the fact so we can get all these links out to people. You can register for free, promo code church, and it won't cost you anything to get in. We will have tables there of Audit the Vote and Patriot Academy. I'm sure a lot of other groups. Laura Logan is going to be there live and in person, as I understand. And I'm hearing that the training is phenomenal. They're going to talk about how to recognize when your kids are being groomed, whether that's in school or online, and how we as parents can fight back against that, because that is probably the number one issue that everybody is on the same side of. Nobody thinks it's okay. Pedophilia is not okay. And yet I think that there is a growing sector within the deep state that's trying to normalize that. And I'm thankful, regardless of how you feel about General Flynn. I know he's a lightning rod, and that's another polarizing topic. Some people think he's horrible. Some people love him, everything in the middle. Sex trafficking is bad. He's raising awareness for that. Our team will be there to support that. So feel free, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, to join us on Saturday. It's 8:30 to 5:30. That was part of my announcements with events. Shane's going to be there for a little bit. He works at the church where you're going. So you felt like that was a divine appointment as well, Shane, you getting that job, right? Because did you say you met the guy that got you the job through the lawsuit?
Absolutely. Yeah, I work with him still. So, it's just, it was just a God story, and God continues to move through that. And through that, through me beginning to work there, I never even heard of the church. I don't live close to the church. I would have never, but God knew I needed to be there, and God worked that out that I did come there. So a year later, in September of 2024, September 2024, me, my wife Dana, and our 2 daughters all got baptized. So like, there's a testimony in that. We go to church regularly there, and it's just been a true blessing for not just for me, for our whole family. Actually, my daughter works in the kids ministry now, so it's just been it's amazing. So it's really, really cool. Christ Church has been a true blessing. They're definitely patriotic people there. There's definitely obviously hosting a really cool event there. It's pretty amazing. It's just another confirmation that I'm in the right place. And I get to work with a guy that's still fighting his own, individual lawsuit, but he has representation, and it's just a frustrating process. But so it's just been a blessing. It's been really, really cool to see how, when you stand on your faith and watch God move and watch the amazing things that God will do in your life. I mean, Tony, you have a crazy testimony too of that too. So
we all do. We all have our own story to share. And I hope I committed to doing this podcast so I can inspire people to find their voice. The class we're doing is to help people learn how to communicate so that you can share your testimony too, because there's only one me, there's only one you, we've only got one story, and we need as many as possible to make the biggest impact possible for the kingdom. So awesome. The comments I'm seeing, Lola Days, Shane, my husband and I prayed with you at some point after you were fired. She'll never forget it. Dana, you and Dana are heroes, great examples for your kids, raising future warriors. Carol J. Molo says, so proud of you, Shane and Dana. Such good comments in there. Barb, it's good to see you. Vincent and Lucy, yes, I remember seeing them. I mean, we knew, I looked through those pictures. I think we knew more people than we didn't know that were behind the president that could have sadly taken the bullet had it not been Corey. My heart still breaks for his family, and their lives are forever changed for it, and not in a good way. But his sacrifice will hopefully not go in vain. Couple things as we wind down, unless Shane, you be thinking about it. If you have any final thoughts, anything on your heart that you feel God is calling you to communicate. But before we do that, Joel, if you could get the graphic ready for the call to action that I was sent. There is a bill going through the Senate that we need to get eyes on to stop, because it is going to make it harder to get public records requests. As I understand it, I think the backstory on this is they're trying to alleviate some of the burden from the legislative offices when they get what they're calling vexatious right to know requests. It's Senate Bill 790. And thank you to Keystone Town Hall and the Conservative Voice for putting these calls to action out there. They make it clear and concise and easy to take action on. But this bill is going to do more damage than good, because it's going to limit the amount of public records requests that people can submit, therefore making government less transparent. And I think since Elon and Doge and that whole reveal since President Trump is back in the White House, if nothing else has shown us that transparency is absolutely vital for us to remain in a free country. And it's nowhere near as transparent as I would like it to be, but anything that is against transparency, I am not for, and this bill does exactly that. So Senate Bill 790, please connect with your senator and tell them if this hits their radar. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but if it hits their radar, they need to vote no. Thank you for that, Joel. Shane, the floor is yours. What last, and I'll go through my agenda, make sure I didn't miss anything, and we'll end with our funny video. But what do you want to tell people, how they can follow you, how they can support you, and any last minute thoughts that are on your heart?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I like that crowd, because I feel like it's just people that know you, and that can be like really walking the edge there. But like, I like just the impact of, I always said, if I can impact one person and change one person, or give that person the confidence to stand up, it's worth it. I do share a lot of stuff on Telegram because I feel like it's a really incredible source of information. And then I do have like that December podcast on my Rumble channel. I don't share too much stuff on Twitter, but it's just hard to keep up with that stuff. I'm still like a dad. I still work and all this, and I have a wife, so I definitely spend way too much time on my phone, like just being honest. But I'm still like a digital soldier, if you will, like an information fighter, because I do feel like deception's out there. I was deceived, so I always feel like I need to defeat the deception that's out there. I got three things. Don't put your faith in man. Don't put your faith in Donald Trump. Don't put your faith in the Republican Party. Put your faith in Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone. And that you will never be disappointed. 2, Genesis 50:20, I feel like is my story. What was meant for evil was used for good. Genesis 50:20 is also goes to this. And Genesis 50:20, I think it was like COVID. COVID was meant for evil, but it was ended up using for good. And I mean, a lot of evil came out of it, but there was a lot of good that came out of it. We wouldn't be probably doing this if that didn't happen. And then there's a song, I think it's by Elevation Worship. I think it's called Victory. And the lyrics say, "I'm going to see your victory, for the battle belongs to you, Lord." And I just feel like that's Dana and I's theme song. And the battle truly does belong to the Lord. We get so caught up on not seeing accountability and all this like can get really, really super frustrating. But we said talked about it earlier. Duty is ours, results are God's. But God, we will see justice ultimately sometime. Maybe not in our lifetime, but justice will be served because God's on our side. So just trust God, have faith, and you will have a peace that surpasses all understanding. It can only be given to you by Jesus Christ alone. So
that is awesome. I got nothing to add to that. Joel, cue up our funny video, which is hopefully funny. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday night.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Grew up a metalhead. I love 80s. Yeah. Metallica. Yeah. And AC/DC and all those guys. Yes. Now listen, here's the funny part about metal is, first of all, it's getting old. If you listen to metal, there's no young metal good bands out there that I'm listening to. It's becoming oldies. But you know what? Embrace it. I want to be that grandfather in the back seat of the car with my grandkids, just really not sure where I'm at. And when you get older, you just want music. That's the only thing that touches your soul. So I want to be in the back seat. Just, hey, could you turn on my station, please? And my grandkids are going, don't turn on his station, Mom. The station sounds like they're sacrificing animals. How great will that be, that moment when you're in that back seat, all us old 80s metal guys, and you hear, hey, you're listening to the oldies goldies station. As we thank the good Lord for another breath of air today, this is going out to the class of 82. And if you're turning 82 today, this is for you. This is Metallica's Creeping Death. And we're going to be in the back here, die, I'm creeping death. And we'll be in that back seat like this. You.
Awesome. See you guys next week.